In today's weather update video, we're going to be talking about the severe weather threat happening in the northern plains and as well going into the Midwest for the next couple of days. In addition, with the flash flooding risk happening also in the same severe weather areas, as well as also in the southeastern portion of the United States. And we're also going to be talking about the heat risk that will be happening across the central United States and as well as the Ohio River Valley. Alright, so for today, we do have a slight risk of severe weather over here in the northern plains, as well as a little bit over here in the Midwest. And we do have a much larger marginal risk that does surround that going into, central plains and going up into the Canada areas. Risk we're going to be seeing with this is the hail risk, as we do have a 15% chance within the northern plains and as well as the Midwest. The same area where the slight risk was highlighted. Over here in eastern Montana, southeastern Montana, we do have a hatch risk for hail possibly. It's really for mostly rural areas, but a couple of small towns are going to be possibility in this hatch risk, or you can see 2+ sized hail possible. Now the wind risk will extend down a bit. However, we don't have a hatch risk this time. We just have our regular 15% chance that's going to be happening from Billings, Montana, Rapid City. Some of this could, extend down to you, but you are still very close to that. Fargo, North Dakota, even up into Duluth, Minnesota, we could be seeing that. So be aware, because this will impact quite a bit of people up here in the northern plains especially. We do have a tornado risk, a 2%, which is actually in a quite wide area. So this time, this will extend from, Billings, Montana. It will also impact, major cities like Minneapolis, Des Moines, Iowa, Duluth, Minnesota. It will not quite reach Canada, but, surprising tornadoes could also happen in Canada as well. And this will extend down into central Iowa. Now, for tomorrow, we do have a slight risk, again, kind of for the Midwest, Central Plains, and Great Lakes this time. And we will have another bit of severe weather moving through, kind of like the eastern Rockies into the plains. So Colorado, Wyoming, we could be seeing some stuff. Not as much, but still could see something. Now, again, our wind risk is going to be our main threat over here. So, northeastern Nebraska, Omaha, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Minneapolis, Rochester, Minnesota, even up here in the UP of Michigan, we could be seeing some stuff. So we need to be aware in our little friends in Ontario, Canada, because that can also impact you guys as well. Now for day 2, we do have a 5% tornado risk, mainly up here in northern Wisconsin and a little bit of UP of Michigan. And then we just have a little tiny, 2% that does include just the edge of Minneapolis and St. Paul, but they will be included in that, and always the risk can increase, so we still need to be aware of that. And the hail threat is not going to be our biggest issue. I mean, we will have like a 5% chance over here in like the eastern Rockies, Denver, Cheyenne. We could be seeing some stuff, but it's not going to impact the most amount of people. Day 3, we do have a risk. However, it is only a marginal risk. However, I would not be surprised if we do see a slight risk in here, but we'll just have to wait and see what the SPC does. Because this will, if we just make a little imaginary circle, this will include, some of Ontario too. I am also trying to cover our Canadians as well, because, in weather scenarios, we aren't having much coverage with Canada on like SPC, climate, precipitation stuff. So I am trying to do that starting today from now on. Cover, parts of southern Canada. I have 3 areas of slight risk. One down here in the southeast, where storms down here have been moving real slow. Up here and over here towards, the southern Rockies and kind of like the southwestern region, Tucson, Albuquerque, all the way up to Denver. We could be seeing some stuff as well. And then up here where severe weather's going to be happening, we can also, those storms could be dropping lots of heavy rain. We could easily be seeing lots of flooding up here in the northern plains and Midwest. Day 2, the flooding kind of down here in the southeast still remains there, but it's a lot less now. I mean, there is also a chance I could add a slight risk, which is also possible too. However, our biggest area of concern, at least for today's video, is still up here in the Midwest and Great Lakes. UP of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. Still could be seeing some flash flooding possible. Then day 3, we don't have a confined risk of a slight risk for areas, but 5% chances could always upgrade to 15% chances possible. Kind of 3 different areas over here in the Eastern Rockies, I like to call it, Central Plains, Midwest, Great Lakes. You could be seeing some stuff, and then also down here in the Southeast, we could be seeing just a tiny bit of stuff happening as well. Now I could be seeing that kind of already, right now. This says this was last updated at like 10 a.m. this morning. As I'm making this video, it's probably around, 4 to 5 p.m. Central Eastern times happening. But we do see that we already have this happening. I'll go ahead and go live. But we can see that, like, right now, starting from, whenever this is made, we are going to start having some storms rolling through the Dakotas, and we can see quite the hail in these. Like, we can have some pockets of 2+ inch size hail in here. Like I said, with, like, eastern Montana, we could be seeing some, hail, because there was a hatch risk for it, you got to remember. Embedded, we could be seeing tornadoes in these as well, and some, damaging gusty winds happening. As we kind of roll in through the overnight, it's only going to really be Minnesota that will be impacted, but still beware, because there could be, some isolated showers, scattered showers, kind of like behind this, but it's going to be much less of worries, and then that will move off towards the Midwest and the Great Lakes tomorrow, as we saw our different category risk for a slight risk happening. For the next 6 to 10 days, majority of the U.S. is going to be above average for temperatures, unless you're over here in the Silicon Valley of California and New England. You might be seeing, normal average temperatures or even a little bit below, but majority of us in the U.S. is going to be warmer than average. Same thing with Alaska over here, unless you live in like Juneau and places over here. Again, below average temperatures are always possible as well. Now, for the next 8 to 14 days, we might be able to see a relief over here, kind of in the northeastern section of the U.S. So hopefully, that'll be good for cooler temperatures happening. So the heat hopefully will let up a bit. However, we still could be seeing some heat happening, especially around the southern part of the United States here, specifically, the southeast between Texas and Florida. And our friends in Alaska still... the heat has still not changed. It's still going to be basically the same for both of you guys, Alaska and Hawaii. 3 to 4 weeks, then over here back in the northeastern section, or really, the eastern seaboard, we could, have more heat, coming back in. And then for, the next month, you could seeing above average temperatures happening again. Now, there is no cooler than average temperatures so far, so any of this gray that you see along here in the U.S. is probably going to be near normal average temperatures happening. For the next 6 to 10 days for precipitation, most of us are either going to be above average for precipitation and, a little bit of the East Coast here, or like right along the East Coast, or if you're over here in the Pacific Northwest or plains and northern plains, you could be seeing a lot of that. And then, or we're going to, see all of us here, near normal average temperatures happening. Or precipitation. Unless you live in Nevada over here, we could be seeing, a little bit below average precipitation. And then the 8 to 14 days, might even be suggesting that, a little bit of the Great Lakes here and the Northeast could be seeing, some below than average precipitation. However, our other existing areas are still going to be staying the same as, the 6 to 10 days suggested. And then 3 to 4 weeks actually might suggest that over here, in the East Coast, not really the East Coast, but like the eastern half of the country, below the average precipitation, unless you're in like the northern plains and a little bit of the southwest here. Forecast right now for the U.S., it has grown since I've, made the last video, which the last video that I made was like 2 weeks ago. Sorry. I had lots of things going on, I know. So, but anyways, around the Chicago area, like Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana, we've been seeing a lot of drought. Isolated metro droughts, a little bit along here, like the southeast and mid-Atlantic. into a little bit of England, we do have some of that metro drought. Also here in like the central bit of plains, we are having some drought in between South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, which is definitely could be impactful for the farmers out there. Even over here in like the northern plains too, we've also been having drought right along the Canada border. We have been seeing some of that happening as well. Now, for the last bit of this weather update video, I am going to be talking about the heat that has been happening across the Ohio River Valley and the Ozarks. So, currently right now, as I'm making this, high temperatures throughout today could reach near 100 degrees in some areas in like Arkansas, kind of along the mid-Mississippi Valley too. We could be seeing near temperatures, and these aren't heat these are actual temperatures that could go up to 100 degrees. Heat indexes are definitely going to be way above with the impact of dew points and humidity. And as we kind of go into overnight, temperatures could drop down back into the 70s and 80s, which is not, it's 20 to 30 degrees less, but 70s for an overnight temperature. At that point you're going to be like, yeah, that just feels good anyways, which is definitely true for now, but 70 degrees for overnight is not something that people want. And then kind of as we go back into the day, not even at like, where our highest temperatures would be, which would be like early afternoon, we're already up to 102 in Little Rock and central Arkansas. So we're going to be seeing those high temperatures for sure. Here's the stuff that people don't like to see, which is, the heat index. So already, some areas could be up to, 105, even up to 110 in some places. As we go throughout the day, those will continue to go down, but then until we continue into the next day, boom, we're already seeing stuff in like central Illinois, the Mississippi Valley over here, in the Ohio Valley, up to 110. Literally is no question. We will probably be seeing that most likely. And then as the triple, we could, some areas, some pockets, we could even be going back down, into the 90s over here in some areas where it was hot. But it is definitely going to be depending on the humidity and the dew point, because those will be impacting how it feels like for the temperatures. That's going to be it for today's weather video. So if you guys like to see another weather video, make sure you guys subscribe and like for new ones so you don't miss the latest weather update videos. So make sure you go do that. If you haven't subscribed, please do, as we are trying to grow the Huntweather family and also try to share with friends and family. Anyways, that's all I have for today. So goodbye.